everybody, welcome to FBS episode 13. I'm joined today, of course, by B. Squigglehausen.
Hello.
And Strict Toaster.
Hello, too.
How's it going, guys? You guys doing good today?
Can't complain.
Can't complain? All right, I like it. So today we're going to start on Terminal 1. This has kind of been like a neglected part, I think, of the airport for a while now. I know Jay did the international terminal, and then I did Terminal 3, and there's always been this sort of in-between area behind the big circular sort of structure we have here that hasn't had a lot of work done to it. So today I wanted to go in and work on that, and I kind of imagined that this whole ring, this outer ring, was kind of built around the same time. So very similar styles in the terminals and in the actual spokes themselves. So you probably noticed at the beginning here, I literally copied a lot of the work we'd already done because it's a lot of the same stuff. And it's really just going to be a lot of refactoring some existing work and also getting in some of these, airport vehicle roads and things to the service roads, to connect everything together. But this is going to be mostly covering this whole outer area. I really wanted to detail out this and kind of finish out some of the areas that felt like they had just kind of blank, this kind of blank in between areas in a lot of different parts of this airport right now. So this is definitely one of them. I just wanted to fill it out and get some details and especially up against the building where it just kind of feels like it's just connecting to the concrete and there's not a lot of detail there. I wanted to get some details in, and I am using a lot of these service roads that I built. I know that we'll probably talk about this in the next episode in particular, but we'll likely change a lot of these and get some better roads and also negate the use of or get rid of the use of all these prop lines that we don't really need to have, because they're definitely contributing to the prop count. I think at the end of this episode, I don't know, let's see, it would have been UJ that had the episode next, right? I don't know what we were at in terms of props. Or
62,000.
Yeah.
And I see you using the multiple short lines for a piece of straight line here.
Yeah, that was, don't look at that. Don't worry about that. That was nothing. You didn't see that. Yeah, I used a lot of those because I just get so comfortable using them for all the curves, because you can't really use the bigger ones for these tight curves. It just doesn't really look very good. But definitely, I know at the release of this episode, even we'll already have the airport networks lines and stuff, right? That should be already out. So those of you who are watching now, you'll know that there are some better solutions to adding lines that don't involve hundreds of thousands of props or whatever.
Yeah, actually,
hundreds of thousands.
Last weekend, Jay and I, you were driving back home. We did a live stream and we kind of showcased the new runway and service road stuff. So I guess many people already kind of saw that.
Yeah, some of you might have seen that live stream, and is it actually on YouTube as a VOD now, or
was it at least it's in my playlist.
Okay, awesome. I don't think I have it in mine yet.
It's 5 hours though.
Oh, it's 5 hours?
It's 5 hours.
Yeah, we streamed a long time.
Oh my god, I thought you guys streamed for an hour or two. That is, it makes sense because you guys did a ton of work on the lines. But I will absolutely put that in my playlist as well by the time this goes live. So if you guys didn't catch that already, it might be worth watching, because we had to do a lot of refactoring, especially with just the lines. I think was the big thing, right? Because I know you guys did a lot of the runway work, but the lines was the big thing that was contributing to the prop count. That and the
it turned out.
Yeah,
as you move it 50 lines per game.
I'm looking at that right now.
Exactly, I'm watching. It's if we hadn't already changed this, I feel like we'd stay on after the recording and have a quick prop line tool intervention.
Yeah,
it's they don't have to be this short.
Yeah, I'm watching this now. Yeah, I guess
they look so good though.
A little overboard with the number of little short lines that I used there. Now that I think about it, as I select all of these, there's it's quite a bit. It's just. Yeah, definitely that network.
It looks great. It does look good.
Yeah, and that's the one thing you can't do with the networks, right? Is you can't lower and raise them to change the opacity. That would be kind of nice if there was a way to do that, but That's okay. Yeah, well, we changed it, so it's not a huge deal. And even though it seems like I'm doing a lot of connections to all the different like gates for all the planes, I think a lot of the line work in this episode is still just like connecting the what would you even call those? Like the slots for the planes, I guess, like the
plane stands?
line markings. Yeah, I guess you could call it. Yeah, I guess it's just the plane stand, but connecting all the paint lines for the plane stands to the. And did we continue with that? I know that we were talking about this a few episodes ago. Like some airports seem to like bring, I know SFO, parts of SFO anyway, like they bring all of the lines straight to the service roads, but then other places don't really do that. Like I think we were kind of doing half and half, right? Because the SFO does half and half. They don't even have all of their.
I noticed in LAX the older terminals have lines connecting to each one of the plane spots. The new ones do not, so maybe it's like an old thing that's no longer done. I don't know.
It's funny because you'd think it'd be the other way around, right? You'd think that like the newer stuff would have like more lines and more like consistency or something, but maybe they just get more minimalistic with their design or something, or the pilots get better.
Flight school is just more thorough now.
Yeah, that's probably it. But anyway, so doing a lot of it, and I guess we did keep all of these. We did keep these service roads. We probably just changed you could just
the
like,
layout is
upgrade
the
them,
same,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, the layout's still the same. So it's not like we had to change too much. It was really just changing the type of roads and probably removing all these extra lines that were now unnecessary. But this was kind of a challenge over here, actually. I felt like I was cutting it kind of close to this like taxiway area, but when we laid this out, it was just like there wasn't a lot of space for the planes to move around, so I had to get a little creative with this. Right now, I'm actually I'm straight up taking Jay's design here for this this big. What did you call this again? Like the Mars or something?
Mars Gate.
Mars Gate. Okay, I wanted to have at least one of these because there was
cool,
like this.
Aren't they?
Yeah, they're so cool, and there's like this one little spoke that was coming out of the middle, and we couldn't extend it out because we needed to have the taxiways behind it. So I tried to squeeze it in here. You can see it was really tough to get this to fit. I think I'm going to cut out quite a bit of the fighting with this to make it work, but that last gate on the top right was like just in the way, and it was really, really hard to get this to like narrowly fit in. I think I have to actually move the whole building over and get this to fit in. But I wanted to have, like, it just seems like usually the single gates are the really big, Mars gates or the international, like large plane kind of flight gates. So that's what this is all about here. And also getting some glitchy concrete here and there. This is one of those areas that is not flat, and we probably should have
because of the train station, right?
Yeah, I have a train station, and I think just in general, probably didn't flatten this out all the way, or something happened along the way where there's some mismatch in height, so had to deal with that just a little bit. But I think that, yeah, that would have been, if there's like anything you could take away from this entire series, it's like make sure that you flatten everything like 100% before you make like runways or anything, because when you're laying out all these props and all of a sudden you find out that it's not flat, it's definitely frustrating or difficult.
But even if you do check all of that, I feel like after you start working on things, because you end up like lowering a thing so that it doesn't clip with this other thing, and all of those like micro adjustments start changing the level that you set up first. So it changes no matter what, unfortunately, even if you flatten everything out. It is much easier if you do, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, but anyway, it all ended up working out in the end, and we
have align heights now, so that helps.
That's really true, actually. I didn't think about using that for this kind of stuff. I mean, it didn't exist, I don't think. Oh, it did. It's right there.
It did. I'm looking at it right now.
Well, I suppose I didn't know about it yet. Yeah, but I didn't think about using that. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
It would have totally screwed up those jet bridges, though. So
it would have. That's totally true. Yeah, and it. I guess like some things have different relative heights, like the bottom of the asset starts at a different point or something, so it's hard to use.
It's not a perfect solution for sure.
Yeah, but it works really well for assets that are like almost identical. Like if for the signs, for example, it would have been amazing to use that for the signs, but I don't think it existed whenever I did the signs that long ago. But that's okay.
You might have to redo the signs soon.
Yeah, that is true. I might have to redo the signs when we redo some stuff later on for the. And again, that was put back to the live stream, I guess. Did you guys redo the taxiways during the live stream at all, or is that something that we have to do later on?
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, we got it a big chunk, like basically the other half of the airport that is not this, so that I wouldn't spoil this episode and Jay's coming episode. I try to, and now as we're recording this commentary, I'm a little bit ahead of what happened on the live stream. I can tell you that I try to keep. I mean, we changed a lot of the taxiway configuration, so many cases are different. But I managed to salvage about 85% of those signs that you did. So for the most part, there should be there. I even aligned them a little bit nicer.
Nice.
But there's I would say there's like a 15% that will need to be re-added.
Okay. Well, that's not bad at all, because I mean, maybe I don't really know exactly like what 15% you still have left, but if you have any of the existing letters that we need for like future taxi signs like already out, then you could just copy paste them and it's not that big of a deal.
I think
the hard part is really just adding them in and then rotating.
Yeah,
them
there's a lot of new shortcuts, because I added what everyone's been asking for a while, which is fast exits. So yeah, I don't want to spoil that.
Yeah, don't spoil it too much. That's fine. Yeah. But we'll get around to adding those in later on. But yeah, really, the next part of this episode and kind of going into the remainder of the episode really is just trying to like, I don't know. I mean, obviously airports are very open. There's just like a lot of empty space, and the thing about the concrete texture that we have is it's not particularly interesting. So I wanted to add some textures here and there, and I wanted to kind of fill some space and really think about like what kind of stuff would be sitting around in these areas. So obviously around this particular little tiny spoke that is, I guess, designed for international, like much larger planes, jumbo jets and whatnot, there's going to be like lots of cargo and kind of baggage stuff sitting around. But I wanted to think about other areas too, because this exact area, the very center of this circle, was very challenging to work with, because like I said, I couldn't make a full-size terminal because we have the taxiway cutting in between it. So there's like this taxiway, and then there's just like this big empty space on the other side that I didn't really know what to do with. So I think I'll address that in just a minute once we get some of these things all connected, and definitely laying out all of these docks and things, the alternate concrete texture to sort of shake things up a little bit. And I actually really like using this as like a way to kind of define like where the line should go at the because obviously I'm having all these lines follow and connect up to the service road, but in some areas where they're kind of like floating spokes that are a little further away from any service roads, I wanted to kind of define where the line should cut off, and it just kind of worked out nicely that I could have these little cutout areas where the lines would end, and then planes couldn't enter these areas, and then we would have service vehicle storage and like a bunch of empty carts and stuff where we wouldn't really need to just set them aside when we're not using them or whatever. So that's where that came in. Also adding some little decals here and there to kind of wear out these areas, and again, it's just crazy how dirty airports are, like especially right up next to buildings where all the vehicles are driving all the time, and there's like oil spilling from planes and fuel and all that stuff. It just gets really dirty over time. So adding in lots of these and trying not to make too clear of repetition in the decals either. So using lots of variety here and there. Also, a few of the gates at the bottoms and the tops of the terminals didn't quite fit, so I had to go back and change those. Oh, and here we are, completely copying Jay's previous work. I think this is like this is exactly the same thing.
This is so great for my OCD, the fact that you're perfectly aligning everything.
Oh yeah, no, I that's what I
thank
always
you
do.
For that.
I would copy it, and then I would like line it straight up to the the service roads and whatnot. But this was kind of an interesting little complex, and the funny thing about this is I didn't look, like I looked at what existed in existing airports, especially ones that we were kind of talking about like SFO, and I noticed that there were jet parking and stuff, but also there's a couple occasional buildings that are kind of sitting out that maybe have like some radio towers that are maybe used for I'm imagining, especially because they're near jet parking, that maybe it's more for like local communication, or it's like a place where you could drive your vehicle and park and then use your jet or whatever. I'm not really sure exactly what would be here, but I've noticed that this does exist in a lot of airports. So I wanted to build something like this, but I didn't actually use like a direct reference. Like I looked at a few buildings and I thought, okay, I'm just gonna kind of go with this as I go, and really just started by laying out the docks and whatnot and kind of making an interesting shape in this area that was just kind of empty and that we couldn't really fit a terminal in. And then I just kind of went from there. And I think that before I even did that, I actually just went through here and did all these dirtying up. And I know that we can't use these tire marks and these wear things and decals and whatnot everywhere, but I really like the look of it in that little bypass kind of taxiway that goes behind this. I don't know, I think it really adds some detail to that. Makes like it's being
I think
used
that's
quite a bit.
That's the only thing we won't be able to actually avoid using from now on. We're optimizing props as much as we can right now, and in a couple episodes I would have freed a significant amount of props. But all these details that you're adding are actually what to me, in my opinion, is what sells the idea of this being a real airport and not just a city builder anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, I think these are the necessary things to up the detail level for sure. So, I think it was about this time then I was like, well, I guess I got to go and change all these signs, because I copied a few of them here and there. So we needed to do some renaming, and I had an interesting time naming that giant Mars complex, the Mars gate. I didn't really know like how that should be named, right? Because it's not really like a part of a spoke. It's like its own spoke, and it didn't. It's really one gate
with three openings, I guess.
Exactly. Right? I think I literally just called it like letters and like no numbers or something. I can't remember. Hopefully I show it in here. So
I think on Jay's international terminal, what I did is a number. So each one of those has one number, and then a letter for each one of the spokes, I guess.
Okay. I think that's actually what I did, because I think I looked at the international terminal whenever I built that. So we'll see. I think I did cut out a lot of these. A lot of the sign editing I tried to kind of cut out when it wasn't really interesting, because there's a lot of repetition. I just wanted to show the more interesting parts of it. But it's really not that bad actually adding these in. I mean, once you know the names of all the things, and you can see that I did not know the names of all the things when I was doing this because I was looking for it. But once you know the names of them and you can type them in, then they just show up immediately, and you can just kind of pop them in and switch them out. No big deal. This was my biggest mistake is whenever I copied this terminal, I had the terrain conforming turned on, and it like lowered some of the signs, and all of that stuff got messed up. So I had to individually re-raise all the signs and make them fit on the building correctly. That was a little bit frustrating, but yeah, here we go. Okay, so yeah, I did do that. I did like 1A, 1B, and 1C. So I don't know. I don't think we had used those yet. So there you go. Yeah, I don't really know if there's like and that was that goes back to like many episodes ago. It's not really like a convention that is universally accepted. It's kind of just like some places do it some way, some places do like double letters to identify different taxiways, and
also based
like
on
branching
the age.
Taxiways.
Like depending on when it was built, it's a certain way.
That's very true. Yeah. But once we get these signs out of the way, which I think we're getting pretty close to finishing up and getting those jetways kind of, or the jet parking figured out, this is when we really get into this outer build. And I love the look of these like blast shield things here. I know we've used them in quite a bit in other parts of the airport, but I kind of like the idea of this like floating complex here in the middle of this, where there's just like planes everywhere, so it's all got to be shielded with the blast shields, and then we have just like tons of storage for these baggage carts and things. And then I kind of went beyond the baggage carts, and you'll see in a minute here we're going to have like all kinds of airport vehicles that you could possibly imagine sort of sitting in these areas. And it's kind of amazing. Like you'd think that there would be a much more neat and organized way of like storing everything, but especially, and I noticed a few places in SFO where they literally just have like the blast shields up kind of protecting the whole area, and then they just throw all the equipment that they're not using into this like pile. Like just it's all kind of parked in nice and tight so that it all fits, and that's kind of how they do it. But I imagine they probably are switching vehicles out all the time, so it makes sense to have it just kind of sitting there like that. But and then I tried to mark up this area. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that you keep saying, like, oh, it's looking at SFO. And during the last live stream, a lot of people were constantly asking what airport we were basing this off. And you know, the short answer, I guess, is at this point, any particular airport. We started looking at Minneapolis in terms of runway configuration, but then each individual build, for example, Jay looked a lot at SFO and JFK, while I tend to look at LAX mostly because it's the default location when I open Google Maps, and I have to only scroll it just a few, like 1 or 2 miles. So yeah, it's a definitely a mismatch of a lot of things at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was kind of the idea. Like, we didn't want to do a recreation. That was never the goal. So we're trying to take inspiration from all kinds of airports to sort of get little bits of each one in and make our own unique airport that, you know, has inspiration and has like specific things from different airports to get that realism factor without actually recreating anything. So that's usually how we go about it.
A lot of the airports that we look at are restricted in some way. I guess maybe I'm just thinking the ones we mentioned, like JFK, SFO, LAX even, are all really hemmed in by their geography, which means that copying specific things like 100%. I think the closest copy I ever do is like 80%, because copying something 100% just wouldn't quite make as much realistic sense for our area. Like, I know that already one of the trademarks of JFK is that all the terminals are so compact, and they have this total spaghetti bowl of highways in the middle, which is something I really wanted to do just because I think it looks cool in Cities Skylines. But when you look at it, that doesn't quite make a ton of sense, considering that FBS is out in the middle of some giant field.
Yeah,
and they really probably could have done something a lot more sprawly and a lot cheaper to build. But
right.
It still looks cool, so.
It does look cool.
Oh, no.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a contributing factor in why we build things, I think. I don't mind adding, you know, and that's the other thing. I think we want to add a lot of like the interesting features that you'd see in all kinds of airports. So we try and take all the different cool aspects from different things as well, even if it's, you know, from varying locations and whatnot. But anyway, moving into the very last part of this build, I noticed that usually around, I don't know, kind of between terminals sometimes in different airports, that they'll have these areas that are just like dumps of the cargo or the baggage trucks, like the baggage carts and stuff. So I just had this like huge dump of baggage carts. Like, this whole area is kind of just sectioned off, and I'm even gonna have like some coned off kind of corral, almost like a shopping corral and like a shopping parking lot or something. That's pretty much what it is, really. Like, there's just like a kind of gated off, like designated area to just like dump all of these baggage carts between use or something. And I'd imagine when it gets busy, then they have to pull a lot of them out to utilize them. But that's what this is, and that's really just the end of this episode, is just kind of finishing off this, and then I suppose next time we'll hand it back over to Jay, and he'll begin on, I don't know, what are you thinking about doing next episode, Jay?
I do a maintenance hangar and everything. It's our first hangars at FBS, which has probably taken us way too long to get to.
Yeah, we don't even have a control tower yet.
We don't have a control tower. That's been a reoccurring comment on many of our episodes. So we will.
I think Jay has some comments on that.
Yeah, FBS is going to be a very modern airport that uses entirely video control, so it's not going to have a control tower at all. No, it's going to be probably one of the last things we do, because I want to make a custom asset. I want to sit down and make sure I do it properly, and I think it's a really good like finishing touch to give it this defining control tower. So,
yeah, totally.
We got
agreed.
some time until that.
Yeah, that'll be awesome, and it'll be great to have like our own custom built one. So anyway, that is the end of the episode. So. Hope y'all are enjoying the cinematic shots, and I'll, as always, hand it off to, gorgeous, and definitely not a black screen that nobody can see right now. So I'll be handing this one over to Jay next time, so check back on his channel on next Saturday, or Friday, excuse me. Friday. I'm getting mixed up with my own projects. So yeah, check back Friday on Jay's channel for that, and of course, be sure to look at the description down below for the full playlist, and subscribe to all of us to stay up to date. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.